Hey, what's up, everybody? It's BDF44. Just wanted to make a video this morning, say good morning to everybody who follows me. Hope everybody's having a great day. So the topic I'm touching in on right now is something that had nothing to do with sports. As you know, I do often. I just saw something on YouTube. It's a comment in the comment section of a certain video that I watched where basically it was an OG gangster dude telling his perspective on how LA particularly is split up, and more or less how individuals who were from certain communities were basically forced to stay in their communities and do the damage. Black on black crime was a proximity thing, not so much about just us being vicious animals wanting to kill one another, but more or less just people killing who's next to them, and that whole perspective. And in the comment section, I saw an individual who was basically saying, he didn't believe that in the civil rights movement, somewhat in an unrelated statement, but this is what the video is based on here. He was saying that in the civil rights movements, he didn't believe that black people should have been fighting to be able to sit with whites, but more so should have been fighting for reparations. My thing was, and this is what I'm coming here to say, I don't agree with that in any way, shape, or form, not because I need to be able to sit with amongst people and I want that privilege. It's not necessarily how I view the fight. The fight was more so about having safe travels as an African American person. In other words, today, if I choose to never enter a white establishment, I have the right to. It's available to me to stay away. That was not the case in the past. You were told to stay away based on things that had to do with your skin color and your ethnic background, not who you are, what you're about, or how you present yourself. And obviously that's wrong. Obviously we know that. Obviously the fight went our way and we got that ability. But I just wanted to get up here and just express my perspective in how I view that particular aspect of the fight. We weren't fighting, and I say we with respect to the fact that I wasn't there and I didn't stand and I wasn't part of it, but as a black man, I stand with them in spirit and appreciate these sacrifices. So I say we. We did not fight so that we could have the privilege to sit and eat or use restrooms with whites. It wasn't just about that. It was that, but it was more. What else it was about, in my perspective, was safety. Just flat out having safety, being able to go somewhere. If I find myself in a white bar, they can't throw me out. They can't beat me up. They can't spit at me. They can't toss food in my face for being a black man standing there. They can't call me names and just overall diminish my mental health and my physical health based on the fact that I've arrived. Okay, that's what they were fighting for. That's what it was about. It wasn't just about saying, oh, well, white people over there, we want to be able to go over there because the whites over there. No, we want to not be thrown out of there if we happen to want to go over there. That's the difference. And I know that's not a perspective that most people take on, so I'm responding to somebody who will never know what I'm talking about. Probably most of the majority of people won't agree with, but I think it's important just for as a black person to state this perspective. For me, I just look at it as something that I feel I want to state on the record, that I appreciate the civil rights movement, that I appreciate those who sacrificed for the civil rights movement. I appreciate those who weren't a part of the community, who fought hard, long and hard, to support and to make their voices heard in what it is that they felt was right for the world that they lived in. And I just think that it's so important. It's a tricky thing. Slippery slope was what I was going to say, but that's not the word. It's a tricky thing because you look at, as a black person, you look at the wrongs and the ills that have been done to your people and you see skin. And then you're asking people to look back at you and see spirit, perspective, personality, depth. So it's very difficult to think, about the situation as it pertains to who was doing what, and then look at yourself and say, I want people to look at me a certain way. But that is the conundrum of the black experience, unfortunately. A lot of what has happened to us has been done by skin, by white skin. So it's very easy to say we don't want this to go a certain way. We don't like that because of that. And really, uh, all I really want to do is to live in a world where skin is just that. It's just that. It's skin. You know what I mean? And that's just not the world we live in. So hopefully, with one step at a time, we can start having more dialogue, more appreciation topics of what people went through to try to get to where we are, and what we need to do to ensure that we not only retain what we've earned, but also move forward in progress. And I feel like we've taken some steps back in some areas, but I think we've also had some conversations that otherwise would not have been had if we did not take those steps backwards. So that's very important to me. And I also want to take the time to thank people who speak out on things that don't pertain to them, issues that are not affecting their community. I know that there's a resistance, and I want to say this to everyone out there who's not black. There is going to be a resistance to you supporting us from within our community. It always has been that way. Just like if you hate us, you're going to find people in our community who support that as well. The reality is, human beings are just that. And if we focus on that aspect of the truth, then we can realize how little skin really represents. You know, even people who are in the same situations as people who are going through some terrible suffering in the name of injustices may find themselves in a position to take a deal. You know what I'm saying? Or see to it that they have to turn on their own people for the betterment of their own situation. They may feel that way, even though rarely do I see that being the case. So just know that you're appreciated by people like myself. If you're out here going hard for black people's support and issues and trying to step out there and being a non-black person for black people's issues, I appreciate you for what it's worth. And I'm trying to be more like you in my own personal world, thinking about things that don't pertain to myself. And it's not easy. So I definitely understand people who have fallen short to that. It's something to shoot for, though. It's definitely appreciated in this world. When you give a damn, it puts you on a level above those who don't in a lot of people's eyes. So for what that's worth, please take it. And yeah, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for keeping an open mind. I know that there are a lot of people who may see this who don't understand culture, who don't see nothing but a complaining black person who has this and that, but they don't appreciate it. It's not about what I have, and I think that's what gets lost in the fight. I am privileged with an apartment. I'm privileged with a family that loves me. I'm privileged with a mother who loved me before she passed, provided me with all of that. But it doesn't matter if I look down the street to see someone who doesn't have those things. It's not fulfilling to me to be the only person privileged. And I think that's what gets lost in this country. A lot of times people work so hard for what they want, they get what they want, and they don't appear to care about anybody else but themselves. They don't appear to want to see anybody else succeed unless they go through the rigors that they went through. I don't share that. I don't share that. If I drag myself through hell to get something that I've earned, what I want as a human being personally is for others to not have to go through what I went through to get what I have. You know, I want to make it so that I'm making the path that much clearer for others to walk through. I'm not going to look at them and say, damn, they had it easy. F them. I had it hard. That's a problem. No, the problem is that somebody who took that same route didn't clear the path for you. You know what I mean? That was the problem. Had they cleared the path for you, you wouldn't be in the space that you feel you're in to want to basically keep them from progressing as fast as they can. So that's something I wanted to throw in there as well. Let's stop being crabs in a barrel. People in all communities, not just in my community, but in many communities, we tend to keep each other down, and it's not the way to go. We need to follow those who don't do that, and that's the only way you're going to defeat the powers against us. You know. And the last thing I want to say is I don't know, and none of us do really, what it feels like to live in a world where white pride doesn't equal something that aligns itself with racism or elitism or separatism or something that is lacking humanitarian decency. And if I were a white person, and I'm speaking from a black person's perspective, if I were a white person, I would resent that a great deal. I don't find myself in a position to speak on white issues, obviously, and I also don't sign with those who say, hey, you're not black, don't speak on black issues. But I will say that I respect those who may not want to hear me speak about issues that are not pertaining to my community. But I want to say, just from my perspective, that it's so very important that each and every person going forward, whether you're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever, particularly if you're white though, to understand that it's going to be you, the individual, that changes the narrative slowly over time. That man in the mirror mentality, it's going to change the narrative of your race and how people view you. It's not a fair place to live right now. There's still a lot of people doing a lot of wrong in our faces for everybody to look at. And if you're a white person, you probably feel like the world's closing in on you if you're a decent person and you feel like you're taking a bad rap with all this racism stuff, and you feel like you can't win because you may not mean any harm, but everything you is going to be picked apart. Any joke that you make is going to be taken at heart. Any misspeaking in a racial form is going to be seen as the highest form of racism. You're going to be aligned with the worst of humans. I just want to acknowledge as a black person how messed up that must feel. You know what I mean? I've thought these thoughts for a long time. I'm very appreciative of the perspective that I have as a black person, the skin I have, and the family that I have. I don't wish to be anything else. But I think a lot of times, and I've seen this in film, and I've seen this in life, a lot of times I think the perspective that some white folks have is that black people would rather be white. And I'm telling you, in 2019, I would rather not. I just feel like it's so much negative energy tossed in their direction based on all of this MAGA energy and all this racism history and all of the other stuff that has a negative connotation. And it's just not a whole lot of fairness to be had for people who don't align themselves with that thinking. So my message to them and to you, if you're listening, is keep steady. Don't trust coons. Okay, black people who don't support black people, do not trust them. You can't trust them. And don't trust your cousins who are telling you not to trust black people based on things that are outside of you assessing who it is that's in front of you. That's what I want to say to my white brothers and sisters, non-black brothers and sisters. You are not always going to see the support that you should get from us based on how many covert coons are in this race. But the reality is, we all are living on this earth together. We don't have a choice with that. If something big were to take place where we all had to band together and fix our issues together, we would find a way. We would. And also, I'll end it with this. I heard somebody say, I don't remember what I was watching, but he was just basically saying, he was a gangbanger and he was spending his whole life fighting other people in his gang, other people in other rival gangs, his ops and everything. And then when he got to prison, it was his ops that were his backup because they were the only black people there. And that's what it really comes down to. I respect tribalism. As a black person, as someone with Native American blood, I understand that is in our culture. It's in who we are. But understand this. You're still a black person to everybody else. Like if you're like me and you're not from no gang, you didn't grow up in a neighborhood where gangs were prevalent. When you go outside, you see a black person, you don't differentiate them based on colors. You don't. What they wear, proximity of where they live. You know how many people move apartments from apartment to apartment? You know how many people actually own property on these streets that they fight for? I mean, it's always been a fallacy, man. And I understand the importance of tribalism, coupling up with people that you trust, understanding the threats that are out there based on other gangs and other activities that are going on around you, cops and all that shit. You need to be able to pair up with one another. You need to have a fellowship in the community. But to fight amongst one another for reasons outside of things that make any sense, and to carry that tradition as if it's something that we should hold on to, I just don't think that we should go forward that way. I don't think so. I think we would do better to see black people the way others see black people, one and the same. I don't care what your dialect is. I don't care where you're from. I don't care who raised you. At the end of the day, black is black, and that's how I view it. So all this gangbanging stuff, I can appreciate the OGs. I understand that it's family wrapped up in it. It's a lot of history wrapped up in it. It's a lot of pain, a lot of damage, a lot of people still in jail, a lot of people who ain't gonna make it, didn't make it, what have you. So it's a lot of love in there, a lot of community in there. It's a lot of money that's being made, business deals, etc., all of that, politics, all of it. But understand, as it pertains to just the day-to-day conflict that you have with someone that looks like you based on where they're from, that shit makes no sense. You have to know that makes no sense, and you have to know that there are real enemies out there that you should be fighting, not one another. We are killing our best soldiers out here while we're allowing others to tell us where to go, and how to move. Letting them push us out of our communities, gentrify our communities and shit. Communities that you fought each other for years. You would bust your gun 100 times over, 365 days a week. But then when the enemy, the real enemy, comes in and tells you, hey, step aside, you bow and kiss his damn feet. You know, you sell poison to your brother, won't even halfway talk back to a white man. You know what I mean? At some point in time, we got to start viewing ourselves as how we are, which is people. Kings, queens, brothers, sisters. We have talent, we have purpose, we have spirit, we have heart, we have all these different things. But you're going to take him out because he lives over there. You live over here. That's it. That's all y'all got differences. That's the only differences y'all have. Somebody 7 years ago shot somebody else in that gang, so now you got to kill this dude because he from that gang. I mean, if we ever really stop and just look at the shit that we're doing, we understand that we're playing into the enemy's hands. And when you get yourself locked up, when you find yourself in these circumstances, you do understand that you are a literal quarter in the white man's piggy bank. Know this. Every last one of the numbers that are in that prison, and no longer people, they turn into numbers. Once they become numbers, that's just what they are. You are another drop in the piggy bank, brother. Your whole life, your whole experiences, all your dreams and your hopes, just a number. And the person that you beefing with, the one that's supposed to be your arch enemy, the one you've been shooting at for the last 7 years, that's the dude that's going to have your back on the inside. That's the dude that's going to make sure that the white supremacists in jail, and the SAs in jail, and the Asians over there, whomever, they off your ass. It's a black man that's going to hold you down. So let's just keep that in mind, man. Our enemies are not always people that are ops, more or less, defined as ops. And your friends and the people that's going to put you in the ground may be the ones that you consider your homies. So let's just keep that in perspective. And that goes for white man too. Some of y'all cousins be leading y'all away, man. Y'all be holding on to that racism stuff and trying to keep people down, try to keep people out. You don't even see the fruit in these individuals. You know, they're helping keeping your economy going, but you want to kick them out because you listen to your cousins telling you that they need to get the hell out of here. No, they don't. They don't. You just need to get off that outdated thinking mindset. So this goes for everybody in every community. We all have ways that we need to overcome. I got ways in my personal life that I have to overcome. And that's why I feel like I'm qualified to say some of these things as a flawed individual that we all need to do better. So 18 minutes in, that's my little rant for the day. It actually carried on better than I thought without a topic to start, really. And I hope I touch somebody in a positive way with this. Thank you for watching. BDF.